Stop everything. If you're watching this on your phone, don't lock the screen. If you're on the couch, don't blink. Because somewhere between a late-night voicemail and a 3-word text, are you serious? The balance of power in the Western Conference might have just tilted. Imagine a single call that turns a good season into a parade route. Imagine the kind of gamble that makes legends or memes, and imagine the silhouette you know by heart. High release, impossible arc, net barely moving, reappearing under purple lights. If tonight's whisper is even half true, the Lakers have cracked open a door that most of the league assumed was bolted shut. This is urgency. This is oxygen. This is one of those moments where you either chase greatness or you spend the summer explaining why you didn't. Here's my promise. I'm going to walk you right to the edge without shoving you over. I'll unpack the why, the how, the what if, and the what then. I'll show you the logic tree front offices use when the biggest names on the board start wobbling. I'll map the risks that live under the second apron, the sacrifices that follow superstar shopping, and the on-court blueprint that would make this crazy idea make basketball sense. I'll also make clear what's rock solid and what's heat from the rumor mill. No fan fiction, no fairy dust. You will understand the playbook. But I'm not dropping the headline just yet. Before we kick in the door, quick huddle, this is Lakers News Fan Report. If you want film room honesty wrapped in forum passion, hit subscribe right now, smash that like, and ring the bell so you're first when we break the next twist. This channel eats hot stories for breakfast and chews on them like tape. No fluff. No fear, just basketball and truth. All right. Introduction. First, because context is the only thing that keeps adrenaline from turning into nonsense. The Lakers sit in that rare air where every decision is a referendum on legacy. You've got the best basketball brain of this generation still bending fourth quarters to his will. You've got a 7-footer who erases mistakes at the rim and punishes switches on the other end. You've got a front office that's shown it will pivot fast when a path to contention opens, even if it means wearing a headline for a week. But you also have the new realities of the collective bargaining agreement, harsh second apron penalties that squeeze flexibility, limit aggregation, and punish depth-gutting trades. The days of stacking 3 Megamax deals and papering over the cracks with veteran bargains are over. Every move carries a bill, and the bill gets paid in June. That's the ecosystem. That's the chessboard. So when a name that changes arenas starts buzzing, you don't ask if you should check. You ask how fast. Now we can open the envelope you clicked for. The rumor that set your group chat on fire. The Los Angeles Lakers have sent a proposal for Kevin Durant. That's the sentence. That's the jolt. And here is the responsible framing. Right now, this sits in the realm of speculation, not confirmed reporting from the top newsbreakers. The talk out there ranges from exploratory framework to actual offer, but until the usual sirens sound, we treat it as interest that may, or may not, have been expressed in formal terms. That's how we do this. Excited but disciplined. Why would it even make sense to try? Start with the window. LeBron's calendar is not a myth. It's a countdown. Every season you're within striking distance. Your job is to trade uncertainty for inevitability. Durant, even with mileage, still turns possessions no one can save into points that rescue games. That's rare. That's the difference between going home in May and playing in June. But it's not just star power for the sake of names. It's geometry. KD's presence stretches the floor so wide that the angles of every half-court set change. Pick and rolls become puzzles. Closeouts turn into panic. One catch at the elbow and your defense is playing uphill. Picture the half-court. LeBron drags 2 to the strong side. AD comes to screen. The weak side defender prepares to tag. And Durant is standing 1 pass away, high and quiet, the ball already halfway to the net in your head. If you top block him, LeBron rejects the screen and walks into a paint touch. If you send 2 at the ball, AD rolls free for a lob. If you stay home, KD plays catch, rise, cash. You can't scheme out of that cleanly. The Lakers' pet actions become loaded dice. Spain pick and roll with Durant as the back screener slipping to 17 feet. Horns with KD as the ghost creating a pocket at the nail for AD. Empty corner ball screens where LeBron manipulates the low man, then skips to KD's shooting pocket. 3 players unlimited answers. There's also load management of a different kind, the kind you do on a Tuesday in January, so you're dangerous in late May. Durant's usage could reallocate the hard miles, letting LeBron tilt more toward manipulator instead of bulldozer. The second unit, which too often lives on hope this guy hits 3 threes, now has a nuclear option. Stagger KD to torch bench units while AD anchors the rim. Sequencing minutes becomes a weapon, not a Band-Aid. That's the sugar. Now the spinach. Adding a max-level giant comes with math and consequences. To bring in that salary tier, you send out real money and real players. The modern rules drive you toward cleaner, simpler trades, but those trades cut deeper. You are almost certainly saying goodbye to rotation minutes that hurt to lose, to picks you'll miss later, to swap rights that feel harmless until a season goes sideways. And you're doing it into the teeth of the second apron's booby traps. Limited trade flexibility, frozen tools, pain on the margins. You don't make this call unless you believe you're flipping the season into a title chase, not a fun story. That has to be the standard. What would the outgoing look like in reality? No fantasy packages here. Just the facts of roster building. A star-for-star deal without touching AD defeats the purpose, so you're building a stack of starter-level salary plus future picks and swaps. The names change with the week. The structure never does. 1 or 2 core pieces that play every night, 1 or 2 contracts that match money, and draft assets stretched across multiple seasons to unlock a partner's appetite. That's the cost of entry when you're shopping at this aisle. And that's why the front office sleeps with spreadsheets under the pillow. Why would the other team even pick up the phone? Because uncertainty is leverage. If a star isn't extended and there's daylight, teams call. If a franchise is optimizing a young core and a veteran's timeline runs hotter, teams call. If sales spike and vibes are sky high, teams still call just in case. None of that guarantees a response. But if there's even a sliver, contenders test it. The Lakers' brand gravity ensures that even a whisper turns into an echo. That's part of the calculus. You're never sure you're alone in the room. You make your best call anyway. Let's live in the what-if for a few minutes and talk ball. What does a LeBron, KD, AD trio actually look like when the lights are merciless and the crowd is loud? Offense first. You hunt mismatches without hunting them. Bron brings it up, KD sets a ghost screen and vanishes to the nail. AD slips to the cup. One defender hesitates, and you're choosing which all-NBA player gets an uncontested look. You don't need perfect role players anymore. You need present ones. Wings who cut on eye contact, guards who deliver on time, bigs who screen like their life depends on it. The pressure transfers from, do you have a bucket getter? To can your fifth guy keep his feet? That changes series. End-of-game possessions become clean. No more praying a secondary creator finds rhythm. It's two-man game on one side, almost unfair gravity on the other. If a defense switches, you punish the smallest on KD's shoulder. If it plays drop, KD strings the dribble to his spot and fires. If it traps, Bron hits AD in the pocket and the weak side dunker spot gets fed. There is no perfect answer. There are only trade-offs, and stars eat trade-offs. Defense is the tax. Durant's length helps at the elbows and on contests, but he's not an on-ball glove. You compensate with scheme. Peel switches to keep the paint clean, early tags to protect the rim, and by a possession zone looks to rest legs after long offensive bursts. Your perimeter stoppers become coins you spend carefully. The entire machine depends on AD's dominance. He must be healthy, he must be mobile, he must be relentless. If he is, the backline holds and the math works. If he isn't, the bet gets expensive fast. The locker room matters too. Super teams are not just cap sheets. They're chemistry sets. Whose voice leads the huddles? How do touches flow in the first quarter so egos don't churn in the fourth? Does everyone accept the ugly win in January, or do they need the pretty narrative? The difference between banners and breakdowns is often found in the 48 minutes after a random road loss. That's where roles either harden or fray. A 3-star build demands brutal clarity. Who closes? Who sacrifices shots? Who takes the toughest assignment when your legs are gone? You set that hierarchy before the cameras roll, or you watch it get written for you in public. So, again, is this real or is this noise? Here's the line we're drawing. The Lakers sent a proposal for Kevin Durant's story is a rumor. There's oxygen for it because windows drive courage, because supernovas warp gravity, and because every summer a contender tries something everyone swore was impossible right up until it wasn't. But a rumor is not a transaction, and interest is not an agreement. When the league's most credible voices put specifics on paper, we'll call it movement. Until then, we evaluate feasibility, we test basketball logic, and we remember the difference between smoke and fire. What would I watch for if this had legs? It's the little tells. Quotes that emphasize fit instead of future. Rotations that tilt toward showcasing certain skill sets. A quiet change in how draft assets are discussed. Agent travel patterns that mysteriously line up with team events. None of these alone prove anything. Together they hint at weather. That's how you forecast in this league. You don't stare at one cloud. You read the sky. Let's stress test the downside because grown-ups do both columns. The age curve is real. The injury ledger exists. If you strip depth and one of the pillars misses a month, you sprint uphill to avoid the wrong seed. The second apron locks you into the group you've assembled, which means a bad fit stays bad longer. You're committing to a style, slower, more deliberate, surgical, that may not always thrive in the blur of an 82-game grind. And you're betting on 3 huge personalities to share one lane without the passive-aggressive press conference symphony. That's the gauntlet. That's the price. Now the upside, the part that lives on murals. With this trio, you probably don't need as many perfect possessions. You need a handful each quarter. Your variance drops. Your margin for a cold night shrinks from "we're done" to "we still had the better shot every trip." Stars decide playoff series because they make the math unfair. This build would make the math unfair. Full stop. So where do I land? My personal take, speaking as a reporter who's watched this franchise turn whispers into rings and as a fan who knows the cost of dreaming, is simple. If there's a path that does not touch AD, that preserves at least one elite connector on the wing, and that doesn't mortgage every pick in the next half-decade, you push hard. If the ask empties the rotation until you're leaning on prayers and minimums, you pause. You can't bring in a star to die by thin margins. You bring in a star to widen them. Now I want you in this. What would you send? How many firsts is too many? Which role player is non-negotiable for you and why? Would you trade late spring flexibility for 9 months of nightly mismatch hell? Drop your package ideas below, but more importantly, drop your philosophy. Are you banner or bust, consequences be damned? Or are you swing big, but only if the roster still looks like a team on Tuesday in Memphis? I read everything, I answer as many as I can, and this channel is at its best when your brain power joins the huddle. Here's your closing thought as the comments flood. The line between reckless and fearless is drawn by preparation. If the Lakers truly placed a call, that isn't recklessness. It's due diligence at the highest level. If a proposal actually landed, that's not insanity. It's alignment around a mission. And if nothing happens, the exercise still matters because big game hunting forces you to define who you are. Either way, the message is the same. The Lakers don't wait for history to visit. They invite it over and set the table. If this is the night the door cracks for Kevin Durant, you will feel it in your bones. If it isn't, the next door won't be far behind. Stay locked. The West listens when this franchise clears its throat.